Hello? 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 Where have I seen the option to seem to want to cooperate. Oh, I'm in the wrong one. That's why. Okay, let me open this up. I think Chrome is the Hi all, my name is Austin and I'll be presenting in about 5 minutes. I just wanted to check to make sure you could see the slideshow and that the captioning is working. Let me know in the chat.
The Russians tried to influence the election. There's like zero evidence that they actually were successful. And so we hear this from both sides. Unfortunately, I know a lot of the secretaries of state around the country. We just got on the Secretary of State's executive committee when I was on.
Austin, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am good too. Thanks for being here. I'm excited to see what happens today. There you go. There you go. Good, excellent. You need anything from me?
No, I think everything is set up. I put the Google Doc link in the chat. The captioning is turned on. All the video demos are captioned. I think
Awesome.
we're all good.
Yeah, it looks good. Everything looks good. All right. Well, I'll be here kind of in the background. If you need anything, I'm going to be monitoring all three of the sessions at once. So,
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
all right. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Hey, Brian. Good morning.
Doing good.
Good. Excellent. Good to see you.
Likewise.
So I'm going to be starting soon, so just make sure to mute your microphones, and I'll begin the presentation in about a minute. And I'm actually on the West Coast too, just so you know. So it's 6 a.m. for me. So I'm going to get started. My name is Austin. I am the Accessibility and Assistive Technology Coordinator for St. Mary's College in Northern California. Today I'm going to be presenting on technology to empower students with disabilities. In my slideshow, there's a picture of Martin Luther King and a picture of Ed Roberts from the independent living movement. This presentation is going to cover algorithmic captioning vendors. We're going to look at an Otter AI cadet workflow. I'm going to go over some mindfulness apps, along with some apps for task management for students with executive functioning, who need some executive functioning help. And then I'm going to cover some accessibility tools and end with some accessibility education online classes that are mostly free and anyone could take. So I'm just a little background on myself. I have very mild cerebral palsy, and when I was born, I was really blessed to have supportive parents and grandparents who were able to provide me the speech therapy and occupational therapy that I really needed to be able to succeed in school and be able to be where I am today. And then in addition, when I went to school, I went to Westmark. It's actually a small school in Southern California that specializes in students with disabilities. And I learned filmmaking there. And I actually got my bachelor's in film production from Loyola Marymount eventually from that. And I did a lot of film projects instead of art projects because I can't draw very well. So I learned Final Cut Pro, and I thought I wanted to be an editor. And then after that, what happened was I went to I ended up realizing that I really wanted to help people and give back too. So I got my master's in occupational therapy, and I learned about how to looking at people through a different lens of trying to see how we can help them achieve the goals that are meaningful to them. And then currently I am getting my doctorate from Boise State University in educational technology. And I'm very interested in accessibility, and I'm very interested in kind of how to build that motivation to help students succeed academically. So the first part that I really wanted to cover was online tutorials. If you work for a college or a school, it can be really helpful to have online tutorials available. So I designed a YouTube page for St. Mary's College with all the assistive tech that we use, like smart pens, Kurzweil, so that students can actually go on 24/7 and be able to see the different technology that they need, and get help and get most some questions answered basically when our office is closed. And I'm just going to show you a quick demo of what our site looks like. YouTube channel for St. Mary's College Student Disability Services. I'm going to go to the playlist section here, because what I've done is I've made playlists for all the most common apps and features that students and faculty might use. So what you can see here is I have a tutorial page for Kurzweil. And you'll notice that there are multiple tutorials available. So I have one for the Read the Web app, which is an extension for Google Chrome. I have one for Mac on how to make MP3s, and one for Windows. I go over the basics and advanced features of the online Kurzweil, and I also go over using Kurzweil on a mobile device. So it's a really great way to basically provide information and resources to students through YouTube and through these tutorials, and they're able to access it 24/7. So even if our office is closed, they can still get help. And we do that as well with like the Smart Pen and OneNote for note taking. So those are all really helpful features. And then in addition, we have specific features that are available for our office. So if you look at like our faculty page, we have features on how to make hyperlinks in Gmail, how the faculty can use our SDS online portal. So those are really specific to our office processes. We use the database AIM to manage students, and we have similar ones over here for how to renew accommodations, how to schedule a proctored exam. So it really works well having everything up in a centralized place where students can just quickly follow along a tutorial to accomplish whatever task they want. So that was kind of a brief demo of looking at our YouTube page. And I wanted to kind of show you some tools that you might want to use to create something similar for your school or college if you wanted to put up some tutorial videos. A lot of the screen recording I do is through QuickTime, and I use Final Cut Pro, but iMovie is free on Macs, and you could easily, edit that and, basically provide an easy tutorial video. Another one, if you're on a Windows computer, there's Screencast-O-Matic. It's a free it's not free. It's like $1.65 a month, but it's has the similar features to the Mac's QuickTime and iMovie, and you can make screen recordings there. There are also more complex screen recording apps like Camtasia and Adobe Captivate. These are more designed as learning educational technologies, but you could even build in quizzes and stuff. So if you wanted to actually design an online module to teach someone how to use an assistive technology where they're able to do something like an interactive quiz or something like that, those are options to definitely consider, but they are more expensive. So now I'm going to kind of transition to talking a little bit about accommodation versus universal design, because I think that's a really important issue to cover. So when you look at an accommodation is really focused on a specific group of students. They're registered with a disability office on campus. It's about meeting a legal standard of access. You're trying to ensure that those specific students are being provided, what is legally required, and generally you're making some type of modification to the class. The most common one is extending the time, for example, or allowing a student to use a laptop in the classroom. When you look at universal design, you're trying to build something available to all students. So you're trying to foster access that extends beyond the individual student and actually makes an impact for everyone. And the goal is really to create a variety of ways of interacting with the material so that you really, every student's need is basically covered through that. And I think it's important to kind of think about that in terms of, well, looking at now in our society, what's something that we've done as a universal accommodation. And one that I think is very common is curb cuts. And if you want to put in the chat when curb cuts were developed and released, you can put your guesses in the chat and then I'll come up with the answer. So I'm just going to give you a sec. Let me see. I see 1980. That is pretty close, 1973. So you're pretty close there. I want to mention too, actually, that if you open up that Google Doc that I put the link in at the very front of the chat, you can actually add in resources. So if you have other video editing tools that you want the audience to know about, please include those. And as I go through, please feel free to add any tools that you think would be helpful. I've tried to kind of break down the different headings in there so that you can add stuff. And I haven't finished adding everything, but I will after this presentation. So going back to the curb cuts, yes, so curb cuts is something where rather than trying to build curb cuts and have temporary curb cuts, we just installed them because everyone can benefit. And similarly, captioning benefits everyone. There's a big 3-play media study that showed that the majority of people find captioning at least somewhat beneficial, and that there's studies that it can help with memory and retention. And the benefits of captioning for students with disabilities extends beyond students with hearing loss, but also students on the autism spectrum, students, if they have difficulty memorizing or taking in information, having that verbal information displayed can be helpful along with the auditory. So then when we talk about captioning, something that's kind of developing here is we're starting to see the proliferation of captioning almost as the curb cut was. So now we're seeing captioning come up, and probably the first curb cuts maybe weren't great for everybody. They may have been too steep, or we may have had issues there. And we're starting to see algorithmic captioning become something that can really be provided and will hopefully improve in time to get closer to CART. It's not at a point where it can replace CART right now, but it's something where it's improving, and it will be interesting to see how the technology improves over time. So one of the main captioning vendors is Otter AI. They are the vendor that we use, and I'm going to kind of go over what it's like to use their software a little bit. So what I'm going to show you here is just a little demo of using Otter AI on on a computer on the website, and you can kind of see how that would work. What's cool about Otter is that it saves all of the audio recording and the transcript, so the student has access to both. So the most common way we use Otter right now is as a note-taking support, because students can actually benefit from having the full transcript there. You'll see in this recording, my internet was slow, so that it's not going to be instant, but if you have decent internet, it will actually display in real time.
Hello, my name is Austin, and I am the Accessibility and Assistive Technology Coordinator for St. Mary's College of California. Today I'm going to be going over the website version of Otter AI. Basically going to Otter's website, which is otterai.com, logging in, and then you'll see roughly what I'm seeing right now. Now, I already kind of covered a lot of these features on the mobile app, but I'm going to kind of go over them on the website because it is slightly different. So if you do want to record from your computer, you just click the record button and you click allow, and then it will begin recording. Now, what's cool about this is that Otter will record while you are on the computer, and you can see what's happening in real time. My internet connection is kind of slow, which is why it's not as in real time as it would be on your computer most likely. There are, again, the other options, such as the highlighting and the add photo. You also have an option to comment, so if there was a comment I wanted to add somewhere, I could just type that in. But basically, you can just let Otter kind of run, and while it runs, it will continue to record, and then you can use the options like the pause and stop. So when you're finished, you can just click the stop button. And that's kind of how the recording works on the computer. Now, when I go back to my main site over here, I want to point out a cool feature that's a little bit more streamlined is the import audio/video. This is really good for the desktop specifically, because you might have an audio file or a video file that you want transcribed by Otter, and you can just click the import button, and then you can click browse files, and you could go into your computer and find the specific file that you want to add.
So I'm going to stop the tutorial there. That's from the St. Mary's YouTube channel. What I want to kind of just point out is that, again, that's kind of the process that we're using for importing video and audio, and that we're able to have student workers go in and take a file of, let's say, a professor's lecture of them just talking right now, and then add in the captioning and make sure that it's accurate. And you can actually correct in Otter AI, which I'll show you in a sec too. But basically, it's really great software because you're able to export the text as like a PDF or a Word doc. In Otter, you can actually search the text as well. So if you want to search for a term, you're able to easily do that. And then there's this free software, Cadet. It's from the National Center for Accessible Media, and it allows you to actually edit or create captions, and you can import SRT files, which is what Otter exports the captioning file as. So it's very easy to basically go in and take an Otter file, have it be corrected a little bit, work on the timing, and then you have a professionally captioned file that you can use, especially if it's just a single person talking. So this is a quick demo of a workflow.
Workflow using Otter AI and the Cadet software, which is free software that I mentioned earlier. So what you can first do in Otter is make any corrections that you see. So I'm going to go over here and just correct the name of this. And then I can go over to the rest of the document and see if there's any other errors that I want to change. At this point, I see tag is wrong. And then let's say I'm fine with it, I'm going to click done, and then I can go out and click the export to text button. And you could export as a PDF or something else if you wanted to, or Word doc. But for us, SRT is the perfect file for captioning, so that's what I'm going to use. You can control how many lines you have, how many characters per line. I'm going to say it's all fine. Click continue. It's going to make a little download of the SRT. I can go into the import feature of Cadet, and I can then choose SRT. I can go to my downloads. I can find the SRT I want to import, and there it is. And now I can begin editing the timing. So if I listen to timing here. Oh, actually before I edit the timing, I'm sorry, I need to go and add the document. So I'm going to go in and add the video file, which is right over here. And then I'm going to go and we can hear the timing. Now let's say that I want to extend this out. You know, I could extend this maybe another 5 seconds. I could extend this another 6. You know, these are milliseconds, but you get what I'm saying, that basically you can start to change the timing on this. You can also edit the text. So if there was an error that you caught, you can make that change in here as well. You can see I even Grammarly will check each one to have the extension installed for Safari. So it's checking each bubble that I click on, which is pretty cool for spelling errors. And you also basically can copy event time. So I want to insert the start time from somewhere. I can insert, I can go to the player and cue a start time. So I want to cue from right here. I can just go cue start time, and there's the start time of that one. So it works very well. And then when you
So that's kind of how you can use the Cadet software and integrate that with Otter AI to create a workflow. So I have student workers who go in on Otter, they make all the corrections and check everything. And then I'm the final person who's kind of looking at the captioning in Cadet and making any timing changes and just kind of doing a final grammar check to make sure everything looks good. So that's kind of the process that we've been using for a lot of the captioning. These are some of the different vendors. I'm not going to go over it too much. You know, there's Otter, there's Rev, and a lot of these also plug into Zoom as well now. I've heard that Zoom it's rumored that they're going to be maybe partnering with Otter to kind of, that they're testing some type of algorithmic captioning for their platform with Otter, and that may be coming out later this year or sometime next year. So that's kind of a rumor I've been hearing about. And then other ones that are kind of interesting is something like Ava, which is a new one that's come out, where you can actually have the algorithmic captioning, but if it's too unusable for a student, they can actually page in to have someone check that captioning in real time and provide CART. So it actually, it's an extra fee that you end up paying for when they page someone, but it can be helpful because then if there's no access, you're able to actually have a person come in and start correcting the captioning. So I'm going to move on now to some beneficial apps. And I'm going to take a look here. We have some text to speech. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with these, so I'm not going to go over it, too much, except to say that, if you want text to speech, there's a lot of great apps out there for your phone or for your computer. We're a Kurzweil campus, so I use Kurzweil to help students. We actually have a campus license of it, so I can provide not the books, but I can provide the access to the platform, and they could import journal articles or documents to, and any student could use that aspect along with some of like the brainstorming and the annotating apps that are built in. Again, if you want to talk about audiobooks, I think a big one that to consider that people don't talk about as much is called Libby, and it's part of the Overdrive suite. Libby is links up with your library card, and you can get free audiobooks similar to Audible, which I've also mentioned here, but it's totally free with Libby, and you can get the audiobooks, and you can also get books for your Kindle as well if you want reading that way. And just kind of showing you what it looks like. I'll just open up a quick demo.
Libby, and as you can see, these are some of the books that I have. So this is Libby, and as you can see, these are some of the books that I have currently checked out. And then if I want to go over and look at other books that are currently on hold, I can click on the hold section and see more books that are currently on hold, and it will give you an approximate time of when the book will be available. I can then also search through my local library. There are digital books that I can download, like I was just showing you. So in this case, I've done Stephen King, The Institute, and you can see that there's an audio version of it. And then there is also a digital version of the book that is designed for like Kindle and other products like that. So you can get either one. And this is all free, just having your library card. I think it's a great resource.
So I think that's something to consider for students who really want, to be able to hear the book read by a real person. Another feature that's kind of cool is the Open Dyslexic font. It can be a helpful plugin for students for Microsoft Word, and being able to try and help students so they don't jump the line. It has an extra. The font is designed to help students with dyslexia, so they don't confuse the lines. There's a lot of speech-to-text apps coming out, which I think is really good. The Microsoft Word has dictation feature, Google Docs dictation feature. So you have a lot of those. Again, I'm not going to cover that too much. I think the voice control for Mac is a really cool feature. I don't know if everyone has seen that, but I'm just going to run a quick demo.
Show numbers. 3. Show numbers. 25. Show numbers.
So you can see how you can use that show numbers. You can tell it to open specific files as well, but they basically have that show numbers feature for any application in Mac. So it's pretty cool that you can just use your voice to actually open up an application like that or control it. So now I'm going to go into some task management apps. Obviously, a lot of them are built into Google and Apple, but I think it's important to think about, I like the book, The Power of Habit, and kind of thinking about the cue, the routine, and the reward. And a lot of these apps, they lack on the reward side of things where, yes, you're going to get the reward of completing the assignment and stuff, but they don't really make it fun. And I think there's a lot of elements in gamification that is being developed and incorporated into these to-do list apps. And I think that's very exciting. So you have like Todoist kind of is like a point system where you earn points for completing tasks, and then you lose points when you procrastinate. Epic Win lets you create a character, and then your character basically levels up as you complete tasks. And then Habatica, you have the character as well, but you also get these tangible rewards and challenges. So they actually will say, you write in a reward that you want if you complete 5 tasks, and then they'll say, okay, you can watch TV for 30 minutes now that you've taken out the trash or whatever, or done your homework. So you can kind of see how that could be used. This is just a screenshot from Epic Win. Let me go to some timer-based apps. I think that one that's really interesting is this Forest app. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's kind of a gamified timer app. So you're basically planting a tree. They give you a set time, like 25 minutes. So you're going to stay focused for 25 minutes. The tree gets planted. If you check your phone, the tree dies. So it basically tries to encourage the student to stay off the phone, stay focused on completing the assignment. And then, you can kind of keep building your forest, and they have different trees that you can build. These are some screenshots there. So let's go to mental health apps. I think that is another area that's really been expanded recently and very kind of interesting space to watch. So I think one that's really cool and simple is like I'm going to show you a demo of that, but it's basically just a positive notification that you get each hour, which is kind of cool. So every time you're checking your phone, you'll just see a little notification pop up saying you're doing a good job, or some type of affirmation. ThinkUp is literally a way to build affirmations. You can on the free one you can do 3, and they show you a bunch of different affirmations you can choose from. There's Stoic, which has like a mindfulness and journaling app, so it kind of incorporates some like meditation, some journaling, some kind of mood tracking. Day one is just a full-fledged journaling application, but then there's some that have more of journaling with a mood emphasis. So these can actually track your mood over time. So if you're we have a lot of students with anxiety or depression, they can kind of go on one of these apps and be able to kind of track and see how their mood is progressing, and hopefully how they're feeling throughout the course of the week or month. And then Super Better is a gamified mental health app. So then you have, I think I have a picture here. Yeah, so you have like things like the self-critic is the bad guy, and you're playing a game, whether you lose to that or win to that each day. And then you have simple tasks, to try and to do that are more mindfully focused, and you can earn points like resilience or whatnot. So it's kind of a gamified version of that. So I think that's kind of interesting. I'll just show a quick demo of the app. And as you can see here, there's no sound. It's just going to be the there's the notification. I will focus on progress, not perfection. So the student would receive something like that each hour. And it's just kind of a nice way to try and build a positive framework. Here's a little demo of Stoic.
So this is an app called Stoic. When you go in, it gives you some type of quote. You can rate how you feel. After you do that, you can then see you could do journaling, you can do meditation, focus breathing, and quotes. You can look at your journey through the days and track your trends. I think it's a really good app for mindfulness and for cultivating positive mental health.
And then, so those, were some of the ones that I wanted to cover there. And now we can talk a little bit about accessibility tools. So this is just very simple, free, for the most part, accessibility tools. The Wave tools are easy way, an easy automated accessibility checker to check your website. So you can actually go on using the web content. The Wave tool checks for the web content accessibility guidelines. It will screen for things like alt text, for heading levels to make sure that your website is in compliance. Microsoft has built-in accessibility checkers to like PowerPoint or Google Docs. If you want to have accessibility checker built into the Google Suite, I recommend Grackle. Our school just got a campus license of it. And what it does is it's basically a built-in checker that will tell you about your heading level or tell you to add alt text, and it just kind of pops up on the side. I don't have a demo for it, but that is a really cool app to check out if you're a Google campus or really use Google Docs. The color contrast analyzer is one that I do have a demo for, and it's just a very simple app that can basically tell you if your text is in compliance or not. So I'm just going to go to that right now.
So this is the color change this document. Let's say I go and I make the words here in red, and then I go and I take the little dropper tool and try this out in red. You'll see that now it senses that some of these have failed, and it's failing all the different accessibility checks for the WCAG 2.1 standards for text. So you can see that you can use this to kind of learn what font style color works best and is most readable and legible.
And again, that's a free app that you're able to download, and it can be helpful, especially if you have professors or teachers building these PowerPoints to kind of think about how readable is the font that I'm choosing. Is this easy for students to be able to read? So looking at some accessibility courses, there's a lot that have been developing. The California community colleges have free courses on how to create accessible media and documents. So they have really good courses there. The Kansas Accessibility Resource Network also has a bunch of free courses. They have some on ones like on accessible online events and things like that. They have a lot of great materials. When I was actually checking their website, unfortunately, it was having a glitch and not functioning properly. But I think they'll have it, hopefully fixed soon and be back up. One other cool thing about the KSARN is that you can actually use badging. So you don't have to be from Kansas. You could be from anywhere, and you could use their site, and they'll track which faculty or teachers have taken the course and provide a digital badge for completing. Again, you can get the digital badge too from Microsoft Accessibility. They have fundamental accessibility courses and accessibility courses that are really focused on how you can use Microsoft products and incorporate those accessibility features into checking Microsoft. So then one other one is the DK University, and this is a paid one, but they have web and document accessibility. One second here, I'm just gonna, I think my screen went a little weird there. Anyway, and theirs is more focused on certifications. So what you can actually do is get, I'm certified in core competencies or as a web accessibility specialist. And anyone, I believe, with a disability is able to register with DK University for free for their accessibility program. So if you know of students with disabilities who have an interest in accessibility, this might be a good resource to refer them to. I'm just going to do a quick highlight of the different resources.
Free accessibility courses. These are from the California community colleges who have their different accessibility courses that are available through the Microsoft Suite, video captioning, and how to make alternate media. You can look at the Microsoft fundamentals for introduction to accessibility and disability. They also have specific features in Microsoft for accessibility, going over all the 365 accessibility Office suite, which is pretty cool. Then you can look at the DK University. This is generally paid, or if you have a disability, it can be free. What it offers is a variety of accessibility resources for website checking and document checking, and is much more in-depth. And then KSARN's website currently is not working that well, but you can kind of get just an overview of what that is.
So yeah, I would recommend you check out those different sources, and hopefully you can use these tools to really be an ally for students with disabilities, and be able to really help your school or college progress and provide the supports and universal design principles necessary to help students thrive. Is there any? I guess I wanted to leave some time for questions. Is there any questions? Let me check on the one sec here. Maybe you can, if you have a question, you can write it into the chat. Yeah, those are definitely some of the sources. And again, if you have any resources that you want to share, please feel free to put those in the documents. So how does accessibility apps? That is the Cadet software. It's Cadet is the name of the software, and that is a free software that you're able to download that will work with Otter to kind of be able to make the captions. Yeah, I guess if there's no other questions, thank you so much for attending, and please let me know if there's anything. Oh, can you say what program you were using? Yeah, the time management apps I kind of went over. You can use the standard reminder apps. I tried to show some gamified apps as well. That would be helpful. And I will update the Google Drive to be able to do that. And there are some apps. I believe one is called Focus that's designed for blocking specific websites and stuff that you're able to use. Another one that sometimes is helpful for students is remembering passwords can be a challenge. So like the LastPass or 1Password can be really helpful for password remembering and management. So those are some that can definitely be helpful as well. And yeah, and then again, we use Otter as well for the note taking support. So that is really helpful for students to be able to have the transcript. And then we also use Microsoft OneNote. In OneNote, you can actually use the recording feature and record the audio, and you can take the it will sync it similar to the Smart Pen. So you have the audio synced to whatever you're typing. So you can hear exactly what the professor was saying when you were typing a line of text. So that's been another helpful one that we use for note taking. I guess let me know if there's any other questions, but thank you so much for attending and everything. Oh, a Smart Pen. A Smart Pen you can get from the LiveScribe store. We use the Echo Smart Pen is the most common. There are other newer Smart Pens like the Agere and the LiveScribe 3. The difference between the Smart Pens and the reason we're using the Echo is the only version that I'm aware of that has a built-in microphone. So what that means is that the student does not need to take their cell phone out in class or be fiddling with their phone. They can just use the pen and it has the mic built in. The Agere and the other Smart Pens are a little thinner, but that thinness, you're basically then relying on your smartphone and Bluetooth pairing to be able to pick up the audio, which can be an issue. And the Smart Pen itself uses special paper. There's generally it's like a little camera and little dots on the paper, and it syncs up. So what happens is you're able to actually see it will sync up to the paper. So if you click on a line of text that you've written, you'll hear exactly what the professor was saying when you were writing that line. So that can be really helpful for students too, and we have been using that. Although right now, because we're remote, we've seen kind of students switch more to Microsoft OneNote and less on the Smart Pen, just because they're not currently in-person classes. Yeah, thank you so much for attending the session, and please let me feel free to contact me if you have any questions, and I'll continue to add some more of those resources I went over into the Google document as well. I think you can go to the next class by quitting, you know, like this session, and then you'll want to open up the session list and choose a different Zoom link to join to the next class.